Good morning, participants. The first session of today will be on Bloom's taxonomy and its use in designing assessments. I hope I am audible. If one of you can please respond to this in a chat box. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yesterday, we saw the program outcomes and the context for introducing outcome-based education. And also, we saw as to how can we bring specificity to the program outcomes so that the assessment.
Sir,
Hello,
your voice is very low.
is it? Yeah, I'll just check. How about now?
Yes, sir, it is completely fine now.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, thank you.
Please.
Yeah. So we also saw as to how can we bring specificity to each of these program outcomes so that uh, the attainment is dependable and reliable. Today we are going to learn a little bit about Bloom's taxonomy. See, Bloom's taxonomy is an integral part of the outcome-based education process. Program outcomes talk about the competencies that we expect in our graduates, whereas Bloom's taxonomy helps us in designing the assessments and assess the students, at the same time ensure the quality of graduates. So in the next 1.5 hours, we are going to see as to what Bloom's taxonomy is, the need for Bloom's taxonomy, then per se, what is Bloom's taxonomy, how can we plan for the assessments and how can we design them, and also how to frame higher level questions. Though, our discussion is on whole of Bloom's taxonomy, but in this session, as I move towards the end of my presentation, I'll be discussing more about how can we bring in, the concepts of Bloom's taxonomy into the question papers for the fixed hour examinations. Okay, with fixed hour examinations alone, we will not be able to inculcate all the competencies that are listed through program outcomes. Okay, we may have to look for other instruments, but see, this session is mostly about bringing Bloom's taxonomy into the question papers of the written exams. World's Economic Forum, okay, in its report on future of jobs, uh, which came out in 2020, lists top 10 skills that are expected of graduates, engineering graduates by 2025. If we take a look at, this list, the top 5 lists, they are about problem solving. We can say mostly it is about inculcating technical competencies among students. And the next five skills, they are about the professional skills that need to be inculcated among our students, and they should be demonstrable by the time they become graduates. So if we just go through this list, see, the skills are analytical thinking and innovation, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, originality and initiative, reasoning, problem solving and ideation. See, though in the normal context, you know, they appear to be same, but as we bring specificity to this problem solving approach, or what problem solving is all about, see, it incorporates so many things. And when it was discussed yesterday about bringing specificity to the program outcomes, it was exactly directing, this aspect as to what problem solving is, what all it inculcates. When do we say that our students are good complex problem solvers? When do we say that our students' ability to think critically and analyze, is to the expected level? When do we say that they are good in reasoning and ideation? See, for each of these, we need to have, you know, different experiences created, and through that, we assess them, and finally, we can safely say that they are good in reasoning, they are good in ideation, they are good in complex problem solving, so on and so forth. So is the case with assessing students for professional skills or professional competencies, which are listed here in the report at the bottom of problem solving. So all 10 put together, okay, can be mapped to 12 plus, 2 to 4 program specific outcomes as, listed in the NBA document. Okay, why we are, defined these competencies, why these competencies are listed, and we are expected to see that, they are inculcated in our students. It is because our students, when they become graduates and as they go up in the ladder, when they join industries, when they join you know, their own maybe family businesses, or get into research, wherever they go, they are going to shoulder many responsibilities. Okay, they may have to become leveragers, they may have to become collaborators, they may have to become synthesizers, adapters, and each of these responsibilities, they demand, certain skills among our graduates. And when we address these 12 plus, say, 3 program specific skills, we can say that we have prepared our graduates for any of these diverse roles, any of these diverse responsibilities. Okay, we are talking so much about, the industry expects these competencies. Okay, we need to inculcate these competencies among our students. But are the students interested in all these things? See, what motivates our students? Whether what we expect from students and what students expect from us, are they in alignment, is something, which is very important for us to know to move forward. And interestingly, students motivation comes from when they solve complex technical problems. It is not that me telling the Royal Academy of Engineering See, it came up with a report in 2016, and the report is titled as Experience-Led Learning for Engineers, a Good Practice Guide. Okay, it reports that student motivation comes from, you know, the enjoyment of being able to solve complex technical problems. See the alignment. See, we are expecting or we are expected to prepare our students for solving complex problems, and students are also interested to solve complex problems. So there is an alignment. Now, as we go through in the list, next, students are motivated to make impressive things. Say, maybe it is autonomous car, maybe building a satellite, space rocket, or multi-story building. The students are motivated to do such impressive things. Students are also, you know, desirous of making a positive difference to the world. See, they want to make difference to the lives of the people. Then their desire is also to become a professional with status and financial security. They want to be visible in the society. Okay, they want to be financially secure. And also they have the desire to outperform other students, outperform other teams. So this tells us that what the industry expects, that is employer expectations or graduate attributes, and what the students actually want to learn, they are in perfect alignment. So when that being the case, what is the role for us teachers is to be a bridge between the two and see that our students inculcate all those competencies among them so that they become employable, they become good researchers at the end of the day, they become good businessmen at the end of the day. Okay, so we know for sure as to what are the competencies required or expected by the industry. Is it not enough if we deliver those competencies to students? Why we have to assess? Why assessment? See, William, an educationist, an education researcher, tells that if what students learned as a result of the instructional practices of teachers were predictable, then all forms of assessment would be unnecessary. So if we could predict or whatever, you know, is taught to the student, they have learned all of that, then assessment would be unnecessary. Student achievement could be determined simply by inventorying their educational experiences. See, at the end of the day, we could have listed all that has been taught to the students and shared with the industry, and industry would have accepted our students. But that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that way. However, because what is learned by students is not related in any simple way to what they have been taught, therefore, assessment is a central process in education. It is the important process in education. So that is the reason why without assessment, we cannot conclude that just because we have taught something, students are competent enough to deliver. Assessment is important. Okay, if we go a little deeper into this aspect, see the difficulties experienced by students. See, we being teachers, okay, we evaluate students time and time again. So we know what are the difficulties experienced by students. See, one of them is inability to draw conclusions. See, students, this we observe when they are expected to conduct some experiments, do some investigations, and come up with inferences. So they will conduct the experiments, they will do calculations, but at the end of the day, when it comes to interpretation, we see the interpretations are not up to the mark. Okay, they are not able to conclude properly. Then their inability to connect theory to practice. So, see, they go through some theoretical subjects, they carry out experiments, they do number of projects. Now, when we assess them, we see that in theoretical courses, okay, their attention, their focus is always on answering the questions. Okay, if you deviate a bit where you ask a question to connect theory to some practical application, then invariably, we find students struggling. And the other way is also right in the sense that when they carry out some experiments, they come up with results. But when they are expected to connect, what they have investigated with the theory that they have already studied, then we find students struggling there as well. Also, inability to be spot on. Students, they we observe that they find it difficult to give the answers or um, come up with the solutions what they are expected to. Okay, if we expect them to solve a problem, then mostly many a times we see them coming up with the stages for solving a problem. And students who are good in you know some problem solving, then when they are asked to write about the theory behind it, they struggle. So they find it difficult to be spot on. So these are some of the things, okay, should be addressed when uh, we prepare them for acquiring the competencies. So before proceeding further, let's understand as to what is assessment. Is assessment only asking questions, coming up with question papers, then evaluating and awarding marks? Is it assessment? See, assessment is a systematic process that plays a significant role in effective teaching. We must understand this. It begins with the identification of learning goals, monitoring the progress students make towards these goals, and ends with a judgment concerning the extent to which those goals have been attained. So, what we think assessment for all these years, at least some of us, that it is about, you know, coming up with a question paper, then evaluating their answer sheets and awarding marks. It is just one component of assessment. Assessment is a systematic process. It is a process that begins with learning goals, then monitoring the students progress, okay, in achieving, in attaining those goals, and finally it is about evaluation. It is about judgment concerning the extent to which those goals have been reached. So outcome based education, we can say, is an alchemy which helps us, you know, take care of all these aspects that we saw just now. So it starts with program outcomes. Now, when an institute decides to embrace outcome-based education, it has to be a strategic decision. And for that, program outcomes, become the drivers. So program outcomes in the way they are listed, they are little abstract. So we need to bring specificity to these program outcomes, and this we can do by introducing the by defining the competencies and performance indicators. And also we need to come up with course outcomes for each of the courses we deliver, so that later we will be able to connect the course outcomes with the program outcomes. And for taking this forward, we come across the stages of coming up with course articulation matrix, program articulation matrix, and knowing the mapping strength. So all these things are going to be discussed in the workshop, maybe in the next session. Then once the expectations are known, then how can we assess the student for having acquired these competencies. So Bloom's taxonomy helps in doing that. Bloom's taxonomy helps us to structure the assessment and also, maintain the quality. See, when we talk of quality, we can say that if student can say tell the Newton's laws of motion, okay, so this is one level of attainment. But is it a good enough level of attainment, or he should be able to apply these laws to a new situation? So that is next level of attainment. So this quality also matters, when we talk of assessment. So these things we are going to discuss, okay, as I proceed further. So Bloom's taxonomy talks about two domains. One is cognitive domain and another one is knowledge domain that we are going to discuss in detail. So when we do that, we need to list the different levels. We need to be aware of different levels. Then we need to be aware of the action verbs to be used while framing the outcomes and also while framing the questions, and where we are assessing the students in laboratories, in projects, in seminars, then we require what are known as rubrics. So these are some of the aspects that each one of us know in order to know Bloom's taxonomy well. Then once we do this, next comes the assessment. So when we are expecting students to be good in analysis, then what is going to be our instruction strategy? So how that needs to be designed and how that needs to be delivered, what kind of experiences that we bring into our instructions, so that we prepare students for their ability to analyze, their ability to apply, so on and so forth. So here there are two things. One is coming up with appropriate experiences depending upon what we plan. Okay, what are the program outcomes, and for each of these program outcomes, what is the level to which we want to take the student to. So based on that, we need to create some learning experiences for students. And it is not just enough if we create learning experiences for students, we need to create a platform for students to demonstrate their abilities. Okay, we will come to know their abilities, their competencies only when they demonstrate. It is not just enough if we say that we have created learning experiences for students. That is one aspect of assessment. But important aspect is to create an appropriate platform for students, to demonstrate their learnings, demonstrate their experiences. So that is where, the question paper structure comes into play. Okay, the outcomes, the course outcomes, the topic outcomes, then what is the level to which we take each one of them to, and the result would be course assessment plan. So what is going to be the assessment plan? How much we expect students to be expecting questions on analysis level, apply level, evaluate level, understanding level, so on and so forth will be part of course assessment plan. So once this is done, then the last phase is attainment, where we attain the, where we, um, you know, measure the attainment of students for each other program outcomes. So that is nothing but the competencies. So here attainment is at the program level and attainment is at the individual student level. Okay, and some of you may be knowing this attainment can be through direct measurement, that is through the, these examinations, and indirect measurement is through graduate exit survey, alumni survey, employer survey, so on and so forth. So when we do all that, then we will come to know the attainment of graduate attributes by our students. Okay, so yesterday we saw program outcomes in detail. Now we are going to see the Bloom's taxonomy to some reasonable depth. The question arises here as to what is the need for a taxonomy? Okay, why there was a need at all for taxonomy? Examinations used to be conducted even before also. So we could have simply, asked the questions and we could have measured the attainments. But if that was the case, the difficulty was, you know, whether we are assessing the student for only technical skills or professional skills, because now these program outcomes talk about both technical skills and professional skills or competencies, see, which is much broader than skills alone, which is much broader than knowledge alone. So in order to uh, ensure that students acquire these competences, then there is a systematic approach to assessing the students or students' competence. So when we say competence, it is set of knowledge, abilities, skills, capabilities, etc. that entry level practitioners or graduates are expected to possess by the time they graduate or when they apply for employment in engineering. And as I was discussing in the context of previous slide, competence lies dormant and unidentified until it is applied or demonstrated. So we need to have a platform where students, demonstrate their competencies. So this taxonomy should help me in preparing this platform. Then in the absence of taxonomy, we see there is always a skill gulf between education and employment. See, the the employers, you know, uh, they expect some competencies, and the educationists or education providers tell that we have provided this kind of education to students where there is no alignment or where uh, in the past uh, the institutes never bother to know what the employers want, and employers didn't bother what to ask from the educational institutes. That's why there was a skill gulf. Now, this taxonomy should help us understand the expectations and also how to deliver those expectations. And slowly we have come to a stage where now these graduates, okay, they need to go through the test for fitness for use. This is whether we like it or not, we have come to a stage. And also taxonomy should help set high expectations for student learning, then engage them in their learning through some active learning components, and also provide prompt feedback to students about their performance. See, we should, as we give them more and more feedback, then the gap between what we want them to learn and what they actually learn, that gap can be reduced. Okay, what was in the minds of uh, uh, those who were coming up with the taxonomy framework? See, what motivated Bloom's and his associates to come up with the taxonomy the way it is. See, there were basically four questions they used to ask themselves. The first one is the learning question. It is basically about the objective. See, what is important for students to learn in the limited classroom time available? See, there is so much to learn, but what is important for students to learn in the limited hour, in the limited time? Okay, so that was the first question. Second question, the instruction question. See, how does one plan and deliver instruction that will result in high levels of learning for large number of students? See, so many aspects. Okay. See, how what needs to be delivered is to be planned so that the learning is of top quality and for more number of students. That is instruction question. Third question is assessment question. How does one select or design assessment instruments and procedures that provide accurate information about how well students are learning? See, it is, for some courses, it may be, written examination is a good instrument. For some courses, okay, it is, Viva voce may be a good instrument. For some other things where you make the students present their learnings, that may be a good instrument. So this assessment question was in the minds of the people who were working on the taxonomy framework. So finally, the alignment question as to how can we align the outcomes, the instructions, and the assessment. This was the fourth question. And the taxonomy or the framework, okay, helps us in answering all the four questions in a much better way. So the result was the Bloom's taxonomy, which is known as a framework, which was given by Benjamin Bloom in 1956, and it has been widely accepted all over the world for curriculum design and assessment. And it involves three components, which you are all familiar now. One is about the curriculum design. Second one is about the instructional methodology or teaching methodology, and third one is the assessment process. So in the first component, that is design curriculum, so it is all about how to frame learning outcomes. Okay, so it is about defining the learning outcomes, so which will specify the goals a teacher has for a student, before delivery. Then when it comes to the second component, that is teaching methodology, see, it talks about designing the instructional activity. See, in the previous step, we have come up with outcomes. So it is not just enough if we write the outcomes. Now we need to design the instructions, design our teaching so that these outcomes are delivered, or you know something necessary for these outcomes is delivered. So design instructional activities which will foster the learning outcomes is the mandate of second component. The third component, that is assessment process. Here we need to make the thing clear, okay, for ourselves and also for our students. We should know beforehand as to what we want to assess the student for what level, and at the same time student should know as to for what level he is going to be assessed. Okay, then only the assessment is effective. So it involves basically the developing assessment materials which will determine if the learning outcomes were attained. So what we design, what we deliver, what we assess. Okay, all three things are very well known both to the teacher and to the taught. They need to be in perfect alignment, and this is ensured, this is assured when we adopt Bloom's taxonomy. This Bloom's taxonomy was revised in 2001 by Anderson and Krathwohl, who were part of the Bloom's work, which was presented in 1956. They came up with a revised Bloom's taxonomy in order to address the outcome-based education or outcome-driven learning. So this Bloom's taxonomy is a multi-tiered model. I hope most of you already know that. It is a multi-tiered model of classifying thinking according to 6 cognitive levels of complexity. So what are those 6 cognitive levels? These are 6 cognitive levels. So it starts with remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So this is a multi-tiered model, hierarchical in nature. Okay, bottommost is remembering and the topmost is creating. Now let's go a little deeper into each of these levels. So they all come under cognitive domain. So first one is remembering. Remembering is basically recalling facts and basic concepts. Recalling facts and basic concepts. A law is already there. Okay, one should be able to remember it and uh, talk about it. Or there may be some historical things which he may have to recall. So this is all about remembering. But in order to go to next level, that is understanding, that is explaining ideas or concepts, one should acquired some minimum level of competency in remembering. Then only he'll be able to understand and explain. Okay, in order to explain things, remembering is important. So to go to next level, that is understanding, he should have crossed the remembering stage. Then next is applying, third stage, that is using information in new situation. So he has been given the concepts. Now he should be able to explain those concepts in the second level. Now in the third level, he should be able to use those concepts in a newer situation. That is applying. That is third level, third learning level. Now, fourth level is analyzing, drawing connections among ideas. So he should move up. Now, see, he should be able to connect the number of things to make the whole. Okay, that is analyzing. Then fifth level is evaluating. He should be able to judge, two or three things and come up with his own decision and justify that. Okay, there are three solutions to a problem. So he should acquire the ability, to evaluate three solutions. Then he should come up with his own, um, you know, opinion as to which three of the solutions is the best and why it is so. That is evaluating. Then the sixth level is creating. That is, it is producing something new, producing new or coming up with original work. It is creating. That is the highest level of cognitive domain. And for all these learning levels to be mastered, a teacher has to design an appropriate educational experience for students. See, it cannot come, just by delivering a lecture. Okay, so we need to create appropriate experiences, maybe inside the classroom, maybe outside the classroom, maybe, introducing some courses, bringing some new components of experiential learning. We have to design, you know, the experiences so that students are good in all the 6 levels. And when they are good, okay, in all these 6, then we can say that they are lifelong learners. Coming to the next aspect, you know, uh, that remembering, understanding, and applying. See, they are considered to be lower order thinking skills. Remembering, understanding, applying are considered to be lower order thinking skills. And as teachers, we need to encourage students to acquire these skills themselves. But what is happening is that, much of uh, our explanations in the classroom, and much of the assessment, you know, it focuses largely on assessing the students for lower order thinking skills. See, it is time that we need to prepare our students. We need to motivate them, we need to educate them, so that they acquire these lower order thinking skills on their own. And we need to focus in our classes, in our institutions, in our engagements with the students, to inculcate the higher order thinking skills. The higher order thinking skills are analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So we need to design, our instructions and our assessments so that students acquire more and more of these higher order thinking skills. Okay, when we talk of this cognitive domain, uh, as we move from remember to create, see, it represents a continuum of increasing cognitive complexity. As students move from one cognitive level to next higher cognitive level, the cognitive load on student will be increasing. So what is that cognitive process dimension or cognitive load? See, these are the 6 levels we already know. Starts with remembering and go on up to creating. And when we talk of remembering, okay, see, there will be two processes or two kind of activities happening in the brains of the students. See, one is recognizing and the other one is recalling. So depending of the question, student will be able to recognize and answer, or recall and answer. See, these are the two different processes that will be happening in the brains of the students. So we are going to go in detail into each one of these in the coming slides. The next one is when we talk of understanding, the understanding encompasses 7 cognitive processes. There are 7 different ways student processes the information in order to answer a question, okay, which relates to understanding. So the 7 processes are interpreting, inferring, exemplifying, summarizing, explaining, comparing, classifying. So these are 7 different processes that would be happening in the brain of the student as they process the information. Next is applying. Applying involves executing and implementing. So two processes. Analyzing is involving differentiating, organizing, attributing. So it involves 3 processes: differentiating, organizing, attributing, evaluating, checking, and critiquing. And Lastly, creating, it involves generating, planning, producing. So these are the different cognitive processes, you know, or these are the different ways the information is processed before a question is answered by a student. So we should, as a teacher, we should be aware of these, and we should be knowing exactly as to what is the process for which I am, framing a question for, or what process I want to focus so that students are good in that process. So this level of specificity is required by a teacher before he or she sets a question paper. Now coming to one more dimension that is talked about in the revised Bloom's taxonomy, that is knowledge dimension. Knowledge dimension represents a range from factual knowledge to abstract knowledge or metacognitive knowledge. So what are the four knowledges? That is, one is factual knowledge. See, it is basically about the knowledge about bits of information, or it is the building blocks of the next level and subsequent levels of knowledge. Then conceptual knowledge, it is more complex and organized knowledge forms. That is, it is made up of number of bits of information taken from factual knowledge. That is conceptual knowledge. Then the third of this dimension is the procedural knowledge. The procedural knowledge, as the name suggests, it is knowledge of how to do something. So step by step way of doing something. It is a procedural knowledge. And lastly, and most importantly, that is metacognitive knowledge. It is knowledge about cognition or knowledge about knowledge. Okay. Or it is awareness of or knowledge about one's own cognition. That is, see, each one of us have access to the previous three knowledges, that is factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge. Each one of us have our own way of interpreting or using each of these knowledge. And metacognitive knowledge is something where in a given situation or for a given situation, okay, how three people, okay, can use these knowledges and come up with solutions. So these three solutions may be same, may be different. Okay, it depends upon the ability of each of the problem solver as to how he takes a look at each of the previous knowledges and his interpretation about those knowledges. That decides the quality and the kind of solution. That is metacognitive knowledge. Now, if you take a look at this table, that is knowledge dimension on one side and cognitive process dimension on the other. Now, if you just take a look at all the four knowledge dimensions in the remembering realm of cognitive process dimension. So, and the letter in red is the action verb. That is the key, that will tell us just by observation that, here the expectation is at the remembering level. Whether it is outcome or whether it is question, the action verb has a key role to play in deciding the cognitive process dimension. So whether it is factual knowledge or whether it is metacognitive knowledge, all of them can be tested at the remembering level. Likewise, even in a factual knowledge realm, we can go up to testing the student for creating level. That is, generate a list of standard machining operations when it comes to factual knowledge. So we need to be aware of the knowledge dimension, at the same time the cognitive dimension while framing the question. Okay, though initially it may appear to be quite complex, but as we start, using these things into our delivery, into our assessments, these things become more and more clearer. Not just that, you know, uh, teachers will really enjoy doing this. So normally our focus is here in the pink portion. Okay, factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge at remembering and understanding level. Okay, but now henceforth we need to be moving to this greener portion. Okay, we should be taking each one of our students to evaluating and creating level of procedural knowledge and metacognitive knowledge in order to move from you know move diagonally. See, it is a process. It cannot happen overnight. Okay, we will have to start from the beginning, and slowly as we take students from one semester to another semester, from one year to another year, from one course to next course, okay, we should be consciously taking them to higher learning levels and the next level of knowledges. So this table is important. Okay, uh, initially it may look to be very complex, but I think uh, after going back, if you take a relook at this table, keeping in mind the each starting word is an action verb and how it is relevant, I think things become more and more clearer. Now, before I proceed, just watch this small video of 4 minutes. Okay, um, there are no conversations or much conversations in this video. It is just for observation. So could you see? Because I see some responses that they could not see. Saurabh? Saurabh? Anybody could see? Any response? Voice is okay. Voice was not there. But could you see that at least? Okay, it is okay. It is okay. We will proceed forward. Or otherwise, I will run this once again and stop it after some 30 seconds. Let me know.
We are
Now it is
still not
playing.
able to see the video.
Now also not playing. Okay, it is okay. I'll proceed further. In fact, I wanted to use this, video for my explanation in the subsequent slides. Even otherwise, also I can do that.
Okay, sir, no problem. Else there is a share option below the record button and beside the record button. Using that, you can share the video.
But I have only thing, no, stop sharing button. Okay, I will try. One again, I will share. Now it is sharing.
Sir, just play the video, then I can tell the voice. No, sir, we can't hear your voice, video's voice.
No, there is no voice as such.
Okay, sir, we can see the screen.
Yeah, please. Okay. Now I am back to my PowerPoint screen. Is it visible? Somebody can respond. Okay, thank you. Uh, Hope you enjoyed the video. No, it was emotionally absorbing, and many of us would have come across such similar experience or situation in our lives. But my point is, now to make use of this video as part of taking you forward through the Bloom's taxonomy discussion. Now, the first level in the Bloom's taxonomy is remembering. Remembering, it promotes retention. It is important that one should remember what he has seen or what he has gone through. So, remembering is the first level. It promotes retention. It is essential for meaningful learning and problem solving as we move further in the hierarchy. And it emphasizes the retrieving relevant knowledge from the long-term memory. But it may lead to rote learning as well. If as a teacher, okay, I don't see the bigger picture, that this course is something where emphasis is going to be on remembering, but this should help student to acquire higher level of learning in the subsequent courses. So if with that understanding the teacher treats the course and delivers, it is good. But in the absence of that knowledge, if the course is taught, then we are encouraging remembering, or we are encouraging rote learning. We should refrain from it. So cognitive processes, or the way how information is processed in the brain, it is in two ways. One is recognizing. Recognizing basically locating the knowledge that is already residing in the memory that has already been taught. And another is recalling. Recalling is retrieving the relevant knowledge again from the long-term memory. So recognizing, the alternate term for recognizing is identifying. Now, if you take a look at this table, so these two cognitive processes, recognizing and recalling, they help us in making the students demonstrate these skills. That is, ability to recall information like facts, conventions, terms, ability to recall methodology, procedures, and also ability to recall dates, events, places. And how do we, ask questions, or how do we frame outcomes in order to test the student for remembering? We make use of what are known as the action verbs or the question cues. So on the rightmost of the table, there is a list of verbs: list, define, describe, identify, tabulate, or who, when, where. See, these are some of the cues, question cues, or the previous ones, the verbs. They describe the intended cognitive process. So initially we may find it difficult to remember these verbs because there are 6 learning levels. There are 6 different sets of these verbs. So initially we may find it difficult to remember these verbs. Okay, as we start practicing them using, or as we start practicing framing the questions, writing the outcomes using these verbs, then it becomes natural for us to use what verbs for what level. Okay, so sometimes as we acquire some expertise in this, you may not even take a look at these tables at all. Okay, simply you will use the appropriate verb to test the student for a particular level. So initially it is important, but as you proceed further, depending upon the complexity, depending upon the cognitive load that is going to be there on the student, okay, you will be able to identify and choose and use the appropriate verb. Now, in the context of the video you just now saw, okay, so if at all we were asked to write a learning outcome, before, as a teacher, I know I am going to show this video to you. What is the outcome I would have written? See, this would be something like this: list the relationships of a cast of characters in a movie. This is a possible learning outcome I would have written before I showed the video. Then what is the sample assessment? How I would test the audience who watch this video, see, I can test them by giving some multiple choice test, or a simple one line question, something of that sort. And what is the rationale for showing the video and testing the audience is to see whether whether the students have effectively memorized the given material. So I think this example should be registered in your mind. So next time when you start framing questions, okay, this is the sequence you should be following. You should be looking for whether you have a right outcome for the question you are going to test, then how the question should be like, and what is it that you are testing the student for. So these questions we should be asking and answering every time to ourselves. And here are some of the questions at the remembering level. These are all listed in the exam reforms policy document. I have taken them as it is here. So you can have a look at these. No need to remember them. They are available in the document. And I have just distinguished them with different colors depending upon different domains they belong to. So you see each question starts with the define or list or describe, but all of them are the action verbs, so which will test the student for his ability to remember. So here is a question or number of questions, and one of them is starting with what. What is the difference between, see, something of that sort. Again, it is trying to test the student for remembering. So you can see the intent there. By seeing the question, you will see the intent there. Next level is understanding. So understanding is basically to promote knowledge transfer. Okay, it is not just about retention, it is about transfer of knowledge. This will help in constructing meaning from the messages. It helps in constructing one's own meaning, and thereby one can explain, okay, what has been taught to him, what has been learnt in the class, what has been read from a textbook. And this is considered to be the largest category of transfer-based educational objectives because there are 7 cognitive processes we saw. It basically builds connections between the new knowledge to be gained and the prior knowledge. So there are in all 7 cognitive processes. So the first 3 are interpreting, exemplifying, and classifying. See, all these are part of the revised Bloom's taxonomy document. There is a very good explanation in that. Here, you just try to understand that for every learning level, there are cognitive processes associated, and what are those cognitive processes. Okay, no need to note down or no need to. So interpreting is basically converting information from one representational form to another. That is something which is in the text, you may have to put it in the graphical form, or something which is in the graphical form, you may have to put it in the form of a text by way of giving your interpretation. So likewise is what is known as interpreting. So the alternative terms are translating, paraphrasing, representing, and clarifying. Next process is exemplifying, that is giving a specific example or instance of a general concept or principle. So this can also be included by using the terms illustrate or instantiate. Then classifying, it is all that is written in the text box is it is self-explanatory. Classifying is recognizing that something belongs to a certain category. So categorizing and subsuming are the alternate terms. So the next 4 processes, summarizing. The terms are generalizing and abstracting, can be used alternatively. Then next one is inferring, that is finding a pattern within a series of examples. You can also use the terms extrapolate, interpolate, predict, conclude. then comparing, that is detecting similarities and differences between two or more objects, events, etc. You can use the word contrast, match, or map. And the last is explaining, that is constructing and using cause and effect model of a system. So the table, the skills demonstrated, we saw the possible verbs: describe, explain, paraphrase, restate, associate, etc. As I told you, depending upon what is the complexity of the question, what the level you are trying to test the student for, what is your intent, okay, what is the cognitive load on student, okay, finally they will dictate the choice of appropriate one. So the process, possible outcome, explain the main ideas of a movie, then possible assessment type, write a short one-page paper summarizing the plot and most important events in the movie. So it is still, uh, uh, relies on memory and little more. Okay, this assessment relies memory and little more, because you are going to summarize the plot that you have already seen, but in your own words. Rationale is to understand the most important parts of a movie and decide which aspects of the plot to discard. So this varies from person to person, and which in turn will tell us, okay, as to whether he has seen the movie, he has understood the movie. The possible questions from the document, again from different disciplines: explain the importance of sustainability in engineering design, describe the characteristics of SCR and transistor equivalent for a SCR. So from computer science domain, a question on understanding. Next level is applying. It is basically about using procedures to perform exercises and solving problems. So what are exercises and what are problems? Exercise is something where student already knows a procedure for. Okay, it is a routine approach, right? So he solves one problem, and when he is asked similar problem, he will follow the same procedure with no change whatsoever. That is exercise. Then when we say problem, student initially does not know what procedure to use. He has to look for the procedure, in the sense, he will have solved some exercises, but he will be thrown with a problem where he may have to choose, the two different approaches used in the previous exercises to solve one problem. So he may have to locate a procedure. So this is linked with the procedural knowledge. This is associated with two processes. One is executing. Executing is where a student routinely carries out a procedure when confronted with a familiar task, and when confronted with unfamiliar task, it is known as implementing. Executing is when student, is applying a situation for a familiar task, and implementing is for an unfamiliar task. So carrying out and using respectively are the alternate terms for these two processes. Then the verbs used: calculate, predict, apply, solve, model, examine. Then the outcome, the assessment. Now if you take a look at the assessment, slowly the cognitive load, it increases. Write an advice column responding to one of the characters. Okay, now something from what you have seen, what you have understood. Okay, now you will have to come up with your own interpretation. And the rationale, the implications of a character's actions outside of the consequences shown in the movies are to be brought. Some examples. And also, as you see, as we move from remembering to higher level, so you see more and more context is being built for the question, or scenario is brought out here. It is not just a question, one line straightforward question. Okay, some discussion is there, or some scenario is there or some context is built and then question is asked. Another question. The fourth level, that is analyzing, it is breaking given whole into parts and trying to find the relationship between those parts. Okay, it basically, I mean, we as teachers, we should teach students to distinguish fact from opinion. We should help them connect conclusions with supporting statements. We should help them distinguish relevant from extraneous material. Okay, and understand, analyze, and evaluate, they are interrelated. Okay, see, when we expect student to analyze, right, then it is not just analyzing. For that, he will be relying on all the previous levels. We should be aware of that. So whenever, when we try to attach a level to a question, we should always be attaching highest level to the question, though the student may have to arrive at a conclusion relying on the previous levels also. So this involves three cognitive processes, that is differentiating, distinguishing the parts of a whole structure in terms of their relevance. The alternate terms used are discriminating, selecting, distinguishing, and focusing. In organizing, it is identifying the elements of a situation. Terms are structuring, integrating, finding coherence, outlining, or parsing. Then attributing is ascertaining the point of view, biases, or values. Okay, is deconstructing. And the terms or the verbs used are classify, outline, break down, categorize, analyze, so on and so forth. Now you must have noticed here that in some of these tables, the verbs are repeating. The sense, something what you saw for understand, okay, you might have also seen same verb in the remembering column also. That is possible. But as a teacher, I should be clear as to what I am trying to test the student for. So it all depends on how I frame the question subsequent to the verb. It is not just the verb. So analyzing the possible outcome and the possible assessment here is write an analytical paper comparing the antagonists and protagonists of the movie. So here now, you need to analyze the for and against for the movie. The rationale is to know whether, the rationale is learners need to use both their knowledge of the movie and the critical thinking skills. So that is why it is higher order level. So some questions, they are all there in the exam reforms policy document. For paucity of time, I am running slides. Next is evaluating. It is making judgments based on criteria and standards. So we'll have some standards or some criteria. Say, for example, criteria for quality, criteria for effectiveness, efficiency, consistency are used as a basis for the evaluation. The cognitive processes associated with evaluating are checking and critiquing. What is the difference between checking and critiquing? Checking is testing for internal inconsistencies, and critiquing is judging a product based on externally imposed criteria and standards. So one example, if I can give here, say students carry out a project. Okay, they'll use some calculations, they will use some standards. But whatever the discussion that happens before that project, the project is exhibited, is checking. That is the team members, the mentors, okay, who will have debate on that, and make some corrections. See, it is all part of checking. But now when the project is exhibited for external audiences, then that is going to be critiquing. People come up with their own judgments, their own opinions. So that is critique. The verbs are assess, decide, choose, rank, grade, test, measure, etc. Evaluating the outcome, the possible assessment. I can just go through this. So it is more demanding now compared to previous assessment types. And the rationale is learners to understand and make judgments about the validity of a character's decision making. Somebody is asking for previous slide. Let's go back. Moving forward, the last in the list, that is creating. Creating is, putting elements together from parts to a whole, right? So it is coordinated with the students' previous learning experiences. It involves little bit of everything from remembering to evaluating, finally create something. The cognitive processes associated with creating are three. One is generating, that is representing the problem and arriving at alternatives. How we can, and I'll answer each of your questions a little later. Generating is representing the problem and arriving at alternatives or hypothesis that meet certain criteria. We can also use the term hypothesizing. Next is planning, that is devising a solution method that meets problems criteria. It is coming up with a solution method, right? So basically design. And actual construction is producing. Producing is carrying out a plan for solving a given problem that meets certain specifications. If it is a hardware project, it is basically about coming up with a prototype. And the cognitive, the cognitive processes and associated skills, and the verbs are design, formulate, build, invent, create, compose, generate, on and so. It is 12:07 now. I need another 10 minutes. Started about 10 minutes late. So here the sample assessment is create a short story using similar plot devices in a new time or setting. So this is nothing to do with what you have uh, seen. I mean, you may have to come up with a short story of your own in alignment with what you have seen. So some of the possible statements, basically when it is evaluating or creating, we come across problem statements or need statements. Okay, now let's test our knowledge after having gone through that video and having had some discussion on different levels. Now I request you to come up with the action verb for each of these sentences or statements based on what you have seen. They are not, in the sequential, order of learning levels. Now you choose appropriate verbs, to see whether you can take them to different levels, or what is the highest level that you can take them to. Getting some answers. So one is illustrate, analyzing, four is evaluate, one is explain, two is explain, one is analyzing, analyze, three is analyze, five is design, explain, five is create. Okay, let's see. I mean, see, there is no one best answer here. It all depends on our creative ability. But for whatever the sentence is framed, so these are the possible levels, and for which what are the possible action verbs. Now I think it is little easier for you. Now first one, I want it to be at level 2. Apply. Somebody is writing apply, but level 2 is what? Level 2 is understand. What is the appropriate verb for explain? Somebody is telling explain. Yes. Then second one, I want it to be at remembering level. So what is the verb you use? List. Recognize. List. Fine. Understand. Okay, I'll give the answer. I mean, it is debatable as such. So first one, explain. Explain the main ideas of a movie. Second one, remember the relationships of a task to make it at level 1. Third one, analyze to make it at level 4. Now, in the absence of these action verbs, we would have thought of putting just explain or discuss, right? And if that was the case, then all these questions or all these statements would meet only max level 2. And while designing the assessment, we should be aware that when we are asking a question for one level, in the process, we will be testing the student for more than one levels. But we should be knowing as to what is the highest level we are testing the student for. Say, for example, here to solve a mathematical word problem, a student may engage in, there may be one problem, and of these, the highest level may be, say, planning. So I am testing the student for planning, but when I am doing so, I am taking care of other levels as well. That is the meaning. Interpreting, recalling, organizing, planning, producing. All these abilities are required for a student to answer or solve a mathematical problem. Okay, but I will always be mapping the question for the highest level. Similarly, one more example of writing an essay. So more than one ability that the student uses, but I will finally end up testing him for the highest level. So coming to written examinations, see, in engineering education system, predominantly we depend on written examinations for student assessment. Okay, so that is why we should be understanding the Bloom's taxonomy well, so that we can define the learning levels in the question papers and test the student for levels. And for that to happen, in order to test the student for higher level, we need to come out of testing the student for just remembering and understanding. We should also be bringing some questions at least on applying and analyzing level in our question papers, where student cannot just rely on his memory, but he should think beyond that. Coming to the action verbs, they are indicators of the complexity that I have already explained. So these verbs help us not only to describe and classify the knowledge, skills, and abilities, but also they help us in framing the appropriate questions. And most importantly, some of the verbs are associated with multiple Bloom's level. We should be aware of, we should be careful about this aspect. So a good and reasonable exam paper must consist of questions that will accommodate different capabilities of students, or they test students for different levels. So Bloom's taxonomy helps us to set good examination papers which will test the student for different cognitive levels, and also this will help us come out of uh, this problem of tough paper and easy paper what students normally express when they come out of the examination hall. If we make the things clear to students as to what is the highest level that I am testing the student for in the examination, say analyze level or evaluate level, then obviously student, he comes prepared for the exam and he will be able to uh, answer for all the possible questions, and thus the question of tough paper or easy paper doesn't arise, where now the student is fully aware that he is uh, going to be tested for his knowledge or his ability to think, his ability to interpret, his ability to express, and he does that exactly. So if in our question papers, the questions are more on remembering and understanding type, then we need to come out of that. The exam reforms policy recommends for no more than 40% lower order thinking skill questions, and we need to fix the weightages for different cognitive levels in advance as to how much weightage for apply level, how much weightage for analysis level, fixing the weightage for uh, you know remembering and understanding to 40%. That we need to do well in advance and make the students aware of that. And also cognitive levels in question papers may vary from course to course. If it is a design course, then the emphasis on analysis may be more. Okay, if it is theoretical, then you may not be asking any question on analysis at all. So you may confine to the first three levels. It all depends on what type of course that uh, testing the student for. So now quickly, can you tell me the first question as to it is at what level? Quickly, we don't have much time. First question, level 1. Okay, so first question is at level 1. Then what about question number 2? Discuss the effect of Make in India initiative on the Indian manufacturing industry. It is at level 2. How about 3? How about question 3? Somebody is saying applying. Yes, it is applying. It is at level 3. It is solving problem. So coming to 4. Now, tell me it is at what level? Please go through. Somebody is telling L4. Somebody is telling 5. You are telling 4. Yes, it is at level 4. It is testing the ability to identify the relationship and action. And when it comes to evaluate and create, they are considered to be higher order cognitive skills. It's difficult to assess them in the written examinations. So we need to assess the student for these abilities in projects, open-ended exercises, etc. And when we are testing the student for evaluate and create, normally we come up with what is known as a sample problem or a need statement or a problem statement, like one mentioned here. So this is at level 6. Ability to use old ideas to create new ones. Okay, quickly, how to frame higher level Bloom's taxonomy questions. So here is a question. What is an algorithm? list its characteristics. It is at level 1. Now, how can I take it to next level? Or is it possible to take it to next level? If so, how can I take it to next level? Somebody is telling at the present level only it is level 2. Yeah, it is always debatable, but we need to understand the intent. We need to know what we are testing the student for, whether student is relying fully on his memory. So all these things we need to be aware of before framing the questions. If the student is entirely relying on his memory, then it is always at remember level. Yeah, somebody is answering this question. So the question can be modified to look something like this. Now it goes to L2. So here is a question. Mostly mechanical and civil engineering faculty members will understand this question better. So we can take it to next level by adding another bit to the question. So we can take it to level 4. Okay. So here there are two questions. One, describe four-stroke engine leveling its parts in the red color. And another question, describe working of a four-stroke engine with suitable sketches in a black color. Now, the one in red color is at what level and the one in red color is at what level, whether both are at the same level or they are at different levels. If they are at same level, is that level. If they are at different levels, then what those two different levels are. So somebody is telling they are at different level. Somebody is telling one is at level 1 and the other one is at level 2. Somebody is telling the one in the black is at level 3. Let's see. So the one in the red is at remember level. Student can simply rely on his memory, okay, and he can come up with his own description by labeling the parts. But now when he is asked to come up with suitable sketches, okay, I mean, describe the working of a four-stroke engine, then he should have understood the working, and then only he will be able to answer the question. So the first one depends on the previously learned information. Second one, where he has to grasp the meaning of the information. So do not get misled by action verbs. I have already told you, you need to depend on the type of activity you are bringing in, type of complexity level you are bringing in into your question. Just by using action verb doesn't, take the question, make the question at that level. You should also be seeing as to how the question is framed, what ability that the student has to rely on to answer to that question. So similar in questions, one in red, one in black. So your answers, please. What do you say? Both are at same level or at different level? If they are at different level, what those levels are? So 3 and 4. Somebody is telling 3 and 4. Red is at level 1. 4 and 3. 1 and 2. Let's see. So the first one, it is just, memory is good enough to answer the question. But if you see the second question, if you read it, and finally there is a question queue. Which one do you prefer and why? So immediately that takes the question to level 5. And when something is evaluated, some criteria has to be used. So here you are comparing the 2 and 4-stroke engines with reference to thermal efficiency, volumetric efficiency, and power to weight ratio. So those are the criteria on which you are evaluating the two engines. Explanation. So here, these levels will be quite confusing in the beginning. So in order to understand these levels better, in order to write good, outcomes, in order to come up with appropriate questions in departments, in institutes, we need to be working in teams. We need to be working in team of faculty members, at least who engage similar courses. Okay. So that will bring over a period of time lot of clarity towards understanding the taxonomy. Okay, I skip all this for want of time. So my question is, are we preparing our students for future? Each one of us should be asking ourselves. And we must also remember that learners are capable beyond our wildest dreams. So it all depends on how we set the bar, where we set the bar. If the bar is at lower level, then we are preparing students as the bar at lower level. If we set the bar at higher level and then we have our instructions, okay, effective enough to help them cross the bar at the higher level, they will bar at the. Gordon Brown, a former dean of MIT Engineering School, tells that to be a teacher is to be a prophet. We are not preparing children for the world we have lived in, but for a future that we can barely imagine. We can't even imagine the future for which we need to prepare our students. Huge responsibility on us. Some references are used. Thank you. Just 2 minutes, I will go through your charts and answer some of your questions. Tomorrow we have a lot of time for discussion and debate. Take up all your questions tomorrow, but still I'll see whether I can answer some of your questions.
Hello, Professor Kotshetter. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yeah, sir.
Have you completed your presentation?
I completed. My presentation is over.
When you have suggested to start the second session?
I have not yet suggested. I was just going through the chat box.
Okay.
Now it
So
is.
once you are done, you can give 10 minutes break.
Yeah, sir. I think 12:45.
Okay, fine. I'll be ready.
Come back by 12:45.
Yeah, 12:45. I'll be ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just see. Okay, I'll take up your questions tomorrow. We will come back at 12:45.
Professor Kottashettar, you can make me panelist. Good afternoon, participants. Hope you are back. And if my slide is visible and voice is audible, I would like to start the second session or the last session from our side. Okay, thank you for your feedback. Let me start the fourth session of this workshop. So in this session, I am going to address assessment planning and preparation of model question paper. So yesterday, somebody asked, they were from MBA, somebody said they're from diploma. So I would like to just how the program outcomes change for diploma as well as MBA. Just I will mention, we are not going into discuss about the competency in PI because at national level, still the competency in PI for different programs have not been defined. Only what are available in the exam from policy document, they are for undergraduate engineering programs. Okay. So when it comes to diploma level, the first three looks almost similar, only with the change that in undergraduate engineering program, that is BE, BTech, it was complex engineering problem. But whereas for diploma, since they, after 10th, they join the diploma program, the amount of general education they had will be limited. So they are expected to solve well-defined problem. That means everything is given to them. They have to identify the appropriate equation, substitute and solve. So they are not allowed to make any choices or where the complexity level is not high. So the first three looks almost similar except for the scope of the problem, whereas it is well-defined problem instead of complex engineering problem. For just 1 minute, there is an important call. Okay. So next, instead of 12, they have reduced the number of program outcomes to 7 for diploma. This has been done by NBE, National Board of Accreditation. The fourth is engineering tools, experimentation, testing. That is 4 and 5 of undergraduate engineering program. They are clubbed and call it as 4 only. And when it comes to fifth PO of diploma, they have clubbed 3 engineering practice and society, sustainability and environment, and also ethics. 6, 7, 8 of undergraduate engineering program, they have been clubbed and called it as 5. Similarly, project management, here they use project management, teamwork, okay, that is, and also communication. 9, 10, 11, they are clubbed and called it as 6. And lifelong learning, 12 is renamed as 7. So this is how 12 program outcomes of undergraduate engineering program have been reduced to 7. Here I have made a little more clear. So the complex problem has been replaced by well-defined for diploma. And here 4 and 5 have been clubbed. 6, 7, 8 have clubbed as 5. 9, 10, 11 has clubbed as 6 PO. And 12th has got 7. So there are 7 program outcome for diploma programs. And when it's NBA, the MBA, Master of Business Administration, there are only 5 mandatory POs, and they have asked the respective program to add another 3, up to 3. 3 is maximum they can add. It is their choice. They can add 1, 2, or maximum 3 POs to the 5 mandatory program outcomes prescribed by NBA. See, in a undergraduate engineering program, what are given by NBA are known as POs. What the program rights are known as PSOs, program specific outcomes. Because in engineering there are many disciplines: civil, mechanical, electrical, electronics, computer science, like that. But whereas it is the NBA only one program. So whether NBA prescribes, they are also POs. When the or the NBA program itself is writes respective institutions, they are also POs. So either there will be 6, 7 or 8 POs in all for MBA program. 5 mandatory and another 1 to 3 written by the respective MBA offering institutions. Okay. Now, so these are the some additional inputs for faculty members from diploma and MBA programs. But again, I will make it very clear at national level, we have not defined competency and PIs for these. Anyway, diploma can borrow competency PI and they can reduce the scope. Instead of complex engineering problem, they can make it well defined. But MBA, with their own effort, they have to write the competencies and PIs. So again, for continuity, I'm using few of the slides from my previous presentation, but I am not going to elaborate them, but they'll help is to maintain the flow. So we said that earlier a good engineer was one with technical capability, but with 21st century employers' expectation of growing. And we have said the 4 codes. Let us just have a look. Assessment drives student learning. That is, if you want our graduates should have all these qualities, then they should be part of their assessment. And the second code was this: assessment drives what students pay attention to. So if you want students to pay attention to teamwork, critical thinking, communication, lifelong learning, problem solving, for all that, then they should be part of the assessment. And we also said the law of educational cause and effect states that for every evaluated action, there is an equal or greater educational reaction. So if you want the student to demonstrate all the skill sets, then make all the skill sets as part of their assessment. And finally, curriculum instruct teacher what to teach and exam instruct students what to learn. So if you want student to learn all these, then make it part of our examination. So that is the message from this slide. So how it can be done? For that reason, improving the structure and quality of assessment is inevitable. It is late in our country, but still at least we have woken up. Now, without any delay, we have to improve the structure and quality of assessment. What we mean by structure and quality, I will elaborate in the subsequent slides. Structure means alignment. Quality refers to the cognitive levels or Bloom's taxonomy levels. This we have already seen many times. First 5 are technical outcomes, next 7 are professional outcomes, and many times we make a statement that no, our programs are addressing the program outcomes, technical outcomes, only the issues with the professional outcomes. But repeatedly, I am drawing your attention. It is not just the solution or application of the knowledge, it is to the solution of complex engineering problem, analysis of complex engineering problem, designing development solutions for complex engineering problem, investigation of complex engineering problem, modeling to complex engineering problem. So many times, as I said, faculty members are not aware about the definition of complex engineering problem. So this slide, you can take a photo in your mobile. So here is the definition of complex engineering problem. If you Google, you may get many definitions. But this is the definition our NBA has committed to Washington Accord. Okay. So it is you should be aware of this definition. If you Google, you may get many definitions of complex engineering problem. But it is better to know the definition that what the NBA has committed to Washington Accord. So these are the problems, not the kind that generally encountered at the end of textbook chapters. These are problems that have not been completely framed and leave at least a few choices for the students. Yesterday, giving the example of chair, I said material is not mentioned. Student will choose the material. It may be GI sheet, aluminum sheet, wood, or plastic, something like that. Accordingly, these calculations will change. Answers will also change. And while solving the complex engineering problem, it will demand use of laws of physics or bring in some mathematical tools in which problems can be framed. So if you train your student to solve such a problem, such type of problem, then you are basically training your student to solve complex engineering problem. Only after training the student to solve complex engineering problem, then you can ask them, either in your take-home assignment, course project, mini project, minor project, or final project. There you can ask and train the students and then help them to demonstrate it by the end of the program. Don't give complex engineering problem as part of your fixed hour exam in internal assessment or semester exam, because they need a lot of time and iterative procedure. So it's better to give them either in take-home assignment, course project, mini project, minor project, or final year projects. Okay. This also we have seen that memorization occupies a dominant place in the current examination system. But what is important is we should train our student to test. We have to test through our assessment process. We should also test them for higher level abilities, like they should be able to apply the knowledge, solve complex problems. They should be able to analyze, synthesize, and design. That is higher order abilities. We should train them and assess them for higher order abilities like analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Then the question comes, how will we ensure it? For that, in order to improve the structure and quality of assessment, first, as a faculty members, we have to bring clarity to method of assessment, alignment of assessment with desired course outcomes, then clarity about level of learning that students need to achieve. So we all know how to write course outcomes, but how to connect the course outcomes with the method of assessment that we have to learn. That I will explain. Okay. We should keep in our mind that not every assessment method is universally valid for every type of learning outcomes. Yesterday I took the example, suppose you want to test the students for his analysis ability and his communication ability. You cannot have a written exam for both. For communication, you have to give an opportunity for him to present. You have to give an opportunity for him to prepare a report and submit. Whereas in analysis, you can ask them in a fixed hour exam or a take-home assignment where he will show his ability to analyze the problem and solve it. So if it comes to teamwork, then you have to allow him to work in a team. Then using a rubric, you have to assess him. Okay. Similarly, if you want to test him for his ethics, then again how he behaves in a given situation, that you have to test. So not every assessment method, like your fixed hour exam or written exam, is not a solution to all type of learning outcomes. So you have to select different assessment method as and when the learning outcomes change. So in order to align assessment with a particular type of learning outcome, you need to select an appropriate method of assessment. Okay. So we have written examination as one type of assessment. Either it is continuous internal evaluation or semester exam. Or in laboratory also we have continuous internal evaluation. Every lab session when they come, we will see what they have written for the previous week's experiment they have done, and we'll ask few questions on that. So that continuous evaluation, and out of 10 marks something is given. Then at semester exam there is the lab exams. In batches they conduct and demonstrate their learning. Apart from these, which you are very much familiar, then we should also think about other assessment methods like course projects, mini, minor, or capstone project or final year project, open-ended lab experiments, term papers, assignments, seminars, quizzes, internship experience. So like this, you should also use these as assessment methods in order to test the students' learning for different types of learning outcomes. Okay. And here with our experience, we tell you, we can't innovate in assessment without innovating in pedagogy. What it means? If you are going to teach the subject the way you are teaching in the last few years, only because you attended and the AICD is demanding reforms in examination, you cannot suddenly change your question paper. That is, you cannot innovate in assessment. because you are teaching in the old pedagogy teaching learning methods, old pedagogical methods, and suddenly if you change the assessment, the results will come down drastically. And it will be a bad name for you, your department, as your institutions. Okay, the first you have to innovate in your pedagogy, in your teaching learning. You have to bring in a freshness, a new way of teaching learning method you have to adopt. There you have to uh, train the students for doing the projects, course projects, for doing mini project, minor project. In labs you have to innovate in how to conduct open-ended lab experiments. Okay, everything after doing, then you have to bring in innovation in assessment. Then students will be comfortable. Without innovating in pedagogy, if you simply change the examination pattern, then it will be disaster. Okay, so it is possible to test students for higher order abilities, provided first you bring in changes in pedagogy. That is what we are telling from our experience. So again, a small quiz in order to break the monotony. Very simple questions. Technical outcomes are from this number to this number. You can type in a chat window. And professional outcomes are from this number to this number. So 1 to 5 are technical outcomes. And okay, many participants are typing 1 to 5. 6 to 12 are professional outcomes. Okay. What are the three attributes? 1 to 5 and 6 to 12 are the correct answers. What are the three attributes of a complex engineering problem? Just now I showed the definition. In brief, what are the three attributes? So 1 to 5 and 6 to 12 are correct. What are the three attributes characteristic of a complex engineering problem? The first attribute, it will not appear in the end of the textbook chapter. It should be open-ended. It should not be closed-ended. Okay. That is, it should be ill-defined. It should allow the solver to make some choices. Question not in the end of textbook chapter. Okay. Anyway, I will give the answers also. You can type your answers. Why improving the structure and quality of assessment is inevitable? Why improving the structure and quality of assessment is inevitable? So to increase employability, we want to be competitive at global level. So next, fourth one, what occupies dominant place in the current examination system? What occupies dominant place in the current examination system? Memory. Memorization is the one. Okay. We can't innovate in assessment without innovating in pedagogy. Okay. Last one. Not every assessment method is universally valid for every type of learning outcome. Not just learning outcome. Okay. So these are the answers. Okay, thank you for your participation. Let me move on. So as faculty members, you are all aware, usually 1 or 2 months before before the commencement of semester, head of the department calls for a meeting and allot the subject for next semester. Okay, and for that subject, you write the course outcomes. 4 to 6 course outcomes you write. But now you have to learn how to select appropriate assessment method and measurement for each of the course outcomes. For that, we are proposing a course assessment plan. A course assessment plan lays out a well thought out selection of assessment methods and measurements that are aligned to the outcomes of the course. Okay. Let me elaborate these things. So basis for course assessment plan is, as a faculty member, when the subject is allotted to you by your HOD, respective HOD, you will write the course outcomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that. After writing the course outcomes, next you will want to connect them, your course outcomes with the PO. That's what you do, CO-PO mapping earlier. Okay. Now with this workshop, you have also learned about performance indicators. So now you have to write which performance indicators you are going to address in your course in that semester. When you look at page number 15 to 19, if you start counting them, you may find 81 or 83 or 84, let's say, somewhere between 80 to 84 PIs. The number looks very big. My God, 84 PIs. But in a department, usually there will be 12 to 15 faculty members. Even if you take lower number, 12 faculty members, 84 divided by 12, it will be 7 at the most. So one faculty members had to take the responsibility of showing, addressing 6 or 7 PIs. And if, that is one in 1 year. If you go for one semester, at the most you have to take care of 3 to 4 PIs. So in one semester, one faculty member taking responsibility of 3 to 4 is not a big thing. So depending on type of course, you can say your HOD or all people can sit, okay, this PI, this PI, this PI, these 3, this semester I will take care, these 4, next semester I will take care. So in one academic year, I will take 7. Like that, if 12 faculty members say, all the 83, 84 are taken care. So therefore, you have to adopt that divide and conquer rule. Out of 81 or 84 PIs, we'll divide it into 7 per faculty members, that to 3 or 4 PI per semester. And for that PI, I will do extra effort in understanding them, what that PI is, what are the expectations of that PI. Then what is the learning activity I'll introduce in the class, so that every student will develop that ability. Then I can say that, so I have taken care of these PIs, which in turn I am asking question for these 7 PIs which I have taken responsibility. There will be definitely question in either in the internal evaluation as well as semester examination, so that when the student perform, I can show the attainment. Okay. In this way, it is, even though number looks big, but when you plan it for every faculty members per semester, there not be more than 3 to 4 PIs. Okay. For that, you have to put extra efforts in designing a learning activity. And then you should not miss out asking question in internal evaluation or in any of the method, this assignment, course project, if you are using, or semester exam, you have to ask question and show the student, collect the student performance data and show the outcome, program outcome attainment. That is how it can be done. Otherwise, if you look individually, if you look at 81 to 83, that is overwhelming. You say how it is possible. But when you divide by total number of faculty in the department, it becomes so easy to handle. Okay. So the second step is connecting your CO with POs and PIs now. Then the third step is you have to decide to what level of complexity for each CO you want to teach or take the student to that level. You cannot say in the classroom I will teach only up to understanding level, but in examination I will ask numerical problems as well as analysis problems. That is wrong, because students think that when you are in the class you are delivering only up to understanding level, then you think only prepare up to that level. So you have to make it very clear. This course outcome, I am going to take you to this level, and you can expect questions up to L3 level, apply level, or L4 level. So then students become very easy for him. Okay, teacher is delivering up to this level, and he or she may ask questions in the examination up to this level. So you are delivering to that level, asking question to that level, then there will not be any problem. But if you deliver to one level and ask question at a higher level, then students will be in trouble. Okay, therefore we say where you want to put this bar is in your hand. Whether you want to put it at L4 level, L3 level, L2 level, L1 level, it all depends upon your confidence in your students, your input quality of the students. That's why yesterday also I said, if the input quality is poor, then take 1 or 2 semesters extra to reach the higher levels. Okay. However, if the quality is good, you can start with the higher level itself. Then how this course assessment plan looks like. So here I have taken one example from E&C, Signals and Systems. Even though teacher had written 6 COs, I will drop 2, taken 4 only, so that readability will be better. Otherwise, there is no point in putting all the 6 with very small letters. So first COs, whatever you have written, list them in the first column. In the second column, you write weightage in assessment. That is, in your assessment, how much weightage you want to give. That means how many questions you want to ask related to CO1, how many marks you want to allot for CO2, how many marks you want to allot for CO3, CO4, depending on their importance. Importance from the subject student is going to learn in the higher semesters, or importance from the point of the career, professional career itself. See, earlier COs people used to write chapter wise. Okay, either 8 chapters you used to write 8 COs, but at national level only, at international level, people have discussed, deliberated, then they've said it is not the right approach. It is not the right approach to write number of COs equal to number of chapters. You have to take the syllabus as a whole, then you have to say write the course outcomes. Okay, so what is that important? And the number of questions and marks you allocate should be with reference to the COs, not with reference to the number of hours you spend for different chapters. If you again resort to number of hours for each chapter and so many marks for this chapter, proportionate, then you are again going back to traditional method. For namesake, you are writing OBE, but still you will be in traditional method only. Since you are shifted to outcome-based education, here outcomes are important. So for these outcomes, what type of questions you ask and how many marks you ask, that is important. Ultimately, your student have to demonstrate at the end of the course these outcomes, his familiarity with these outcomes, not with the entire content. The questions related to content is a traditional approach. But now, when you move to outcome-based education, your questions should address the outcomes. Okay. So to test these outcomes, what type of questions you should ask, and for that, better look at the competency and PIs. So PI will guide you what type of questions you have to ask, because PI and questions we are going to connect. So therefore, you have to spend a little more time on the PIs you are going to commit for your subject. So whether there are 5 chapters or 8 chapters, immaterial. You have to write 4 to 6 COs. That is the NBA guideline, not my guideline, NBA guideline. So if it is possible to write 4, minimum you write 4, and maximum you write 6. Whether you write 4, 5, 6 is your choice. Okay. So having written the course outcomes, okay, you decide. If suppose if an individual is not possible, you take the help of other faculty members in a department who are familiar with the subject you are teaching. And if you want to be a little more want to be accurate, then what you can do, you might have done MTech either in IIT or NIT. There you might have your project guide. Okay, you after preparing this, you can send a mail. So this is how I assigned the weightages. These are my CO. Can you spend some time and give your feedback on this? That is anyway optional. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to do it. See, OB is all about continuous quality improvement. Even if you have done little mistake in giving allocation of marks, there's nothing great mistake you have done, because always with one cycle you will come to know that okay, there is a need to change. You can change the weightages in the second cycle. So it is all about continuous quality improvement. So you need not have to feel very sorry about yourself for giving a different weightage than what it actually demands. Okay. First time mistakes do happen. Then based on the feedback of the stakeholders, you can correct them. Okay. It is possible. Only thing is you should open to uh, suggestions, you are open to criticism, and then you should change yourself. Okay. So write the CO for the subject allotted to you by your HOD. Then you decide individually or collectively in the department the weightage you are allocating for each of these CO, and how much marks you are going marks questions you are going to ask. You are going to ask for each of the CO. Then the important thing is assessment method. Okay, how you are going, which one you have to map with the different COs. Okay, here what one teacher has done is, so he has said, I will ask questions related to CO1 and CO2 in test 1. I will ask questions related to CO3, CO4 in test 2. And in order to make sure the concepts of CO1 are understood by the students, I will conduct a quiz also. According to him or her, CO3 and CO4 are a little more important. Therefore, I will give some take-home assignment where the questions will be at a higher level, because assignment questions can be at higher level because they have enough time to do it in a week's time or 2 weeks time. Then I will ask questions related to all the COs in the semester exam. This is one way of mapping the COs with the assessment method. In our institute, default is 50% CIE, 50% semester and exam. The 50% CIE is left to faculty member. Here the faculty member has selected 20% for test 1, 20% test 2, 2% for quiz, 8% assignment. Okay. Faculty member can change the 50% weightage. Only thing is they have to take the approval of the board of studies or the head of the department, who is the chairman of the board of studies, and then they can implement. They cannot initially start and at the end of the semester they cannot change. Whatever the percent weightage they are giving, they should tell it in the beginning, in the first week of the commencement of semester only, they have to convey it to the students. And semester exam will be 50%. Another faculty member, software engineering CS, again, they have also written few COs. Again, based on their experience, they have given some weightage. See, their assessment method mapping to COs is entirely different. See, questions related to CO1 and CO2 are asked in test 1, but they say that the concepts of software engineering, learning of this concept will be better tested in a course project rather than simply asking questions where students can give descriptive answers. So what they did was, as I said earlier, 50% marks is given to the concerned faculty member. Here, this faculty member selected 20% for test one and remaining 30 marks for course project. And whatever the concept they are covered in CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, all will be tested in when the students are doing course project, and the rubric that will be used will have the performance parameters related to the COs. That is how we have to ensure that the performance parameters used in rubrics test the course outcomes. Okay. Then there will be again questions related to all the COs in the semester and examination. And this also I have written. Now I am discussing written examination that plays an important role in assessing. Then we also said questions read in the examination or test papers play an important role in defining the level of learning. Your syllabus may be, you might have copied from IIT, NIT, or even Caltech, MIT, but if you ask questions which are define, explain, describe, then that question paper will not take the quality of students to NIT, IIT, or MIT or Caltech. So this is very, very important. It is not just the syllabus, but it's also important. It's also important to improvise the type of questions we ask. Here I would like to focus the third bullet. Since assessment drives learning, the design of question papers need to go beyond mere test of memory recall. So you should go beyond levels of remembering and understanding, and you also need to test higher order abilities like analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Next, when it comes to written examination, you should keep some things in mind. One, you should take broad decisions. That is how many questions you want to ask. Whether you want to ask 8 questions, out of which 5 they have to answer, or you want to ask only 5 questions and all 5 they have to answer. And what is the time allotted? Many times we make mistake, especially faculty members who are new to setting up the question paper. Each question, question number 1, ABC, question number 2, ABC, question number 3, ABC. They ask so many questions, but they will not have, they don't give enough attention to the time required to answer all these questions. As the number of bits increases, the time required to answer all the questions also will increase. Many times students will be knowing answer for all the questions, but you will run out of time. When you run out of time, then he feels cheated. He knew the answer, but he don't have enough time. Therefore, it is very, very essential the teacher should take the test himself or herself first. And whatever time they require, X minutes, then they should give at least double that time to the students. Because you are a teacher, you are taught that subject. You yourself have set the question paper. You know the expectation for each of the question. And if you are taking X minutes, then at least student need 2X minutes. So now is okay?
Sir.
Okay, but somehow the earlier view it had gone.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, fine. Uh, I think 1 minute. See, AICT host, I request you to give me the sharing
Just
option.
giving, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I made you the presenter.
Yeah, yeah. So now it's okay. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was talking about this time allotment. So you have to give double the time after you taking the test yourself. Now I'll focus on structure and the quality. Structure refers to alignment. So this also we are sharing with our experience when we started making changes in assessment. We started writing COs, and since ours was autonomous institute at the time, we are not yet become the university. Usually we used to focus on delivery of the course, and when the semester exam comes, the control examination will be after all the faculty members to submit their question paper. Then in a hurry, the faculty members used to prepare the question paper and submit, and exams also they used to conduct. And when the examination is over, when teachers started correcting, they in fact even valuation was over, result is announced. And when they started calculating the CO attainment and PO attainment, then they used to realize, okay, I have not asked question related to one of the CO at all. So some PIs are missing, PIs are unmet. Then we talked, then our approach should be structured approach. In an unstructured way, if you start working, then there is always a chance that some of the PIs remain untested and there may be a question missing for one of the CO. Therefore, we thought about structure and quality. Structure means I have written the COs. Now, which are the COs we are addressing in the exam? So therefore, we introduce course assessment plan. Okay, in my test 1, I will ask question only related to CO1, CO2. I am very clear about it. In test 2, I am going to ask only CO3, CO4. Or in assignment, I CO3 related. So whatever is there, I am very clear. And accordingly, I will ask questions related to those COs. Now, nth moment, there will not be any confusion. Then in the beginning of the semester only, or before the commencement of the semester only, I have committed what weightage I am going to give for each of the CO. Okay, and I have discussed with my colleagues in the department. I have taken the HOD approval. So now I need not have to worry. When the time comes to set the question paper, already I know what percentage weightage I am giving for each of CO. Accordingly, I prepare. Then out of the 84, how many COs I'm committing, that also I know before the commencement of semester, and there will not be any confusion in me, and I've already conveyed to the student in the very first week. So these are my CO, this is the weightage I'm giving to for each of the CO. That entire course and plan will be shared with the students. Okay, and these are the PIs I am focusing on, and there will be definitely a question related to each of the PI to which I am committing. Okay, even I am going to tell to what Bloom's taxonomy level. I am going to ask the questions. Only thing is students will not be knowing the question that will come in the exam, but he will be knowing for this PI there will be a question at this Bloom's taxonomy level. That he will be knowing. So when the student has all this information, they raise to that expectation. That is what our experience shares. Then what do you mean by quality? That is the cognitive level, Bloom's taxonomy level. What is the level of cognitive complexity in my question paper? Okay. Now, here I am talking about at the whole question paper level and at the each question paper level. Now, some teachers are very smart. If you look at the question paper, they'll say, do you look at L2 level, L3 level, L4 level, L3 level, all is okay. there are questions at L2, L3, L4 level. You'll feel very happy. But the teacher will be so shrewd, he will ask question number 1A at L2 level or a choice at L3 level. Another question, L2 level or L4 level. So when there is a choice between L2 and L3 or L2 and L4, students will only do L2 only. Even though at the whole question paper it looks like L2, L3, L4 are present, but when you go at the individual level, it is L2 only. So therefore, you have to ensure when you are giving the option or choice, then choice should be at the same Bloom's taxonomy level. Question number 1A at L3 or another question at L3 only. And if the question is addressing particular CO, even choice question should also address the same CO. Then only the CO will not go unaddressed, PI will also not unaddressed. Suppose 1A, if you CO1 relate to CO1, and or you ask another question to CO2, and if some students answer choice question, then CO1 is not answered by them at all. So therefore, when you give a choice for a particular question, ask that question for the same CO at the same Bloom's taxonomy level. That is what I wanted to convey in this. Is there any audio problem? One person is having. So majority don't have the problem. So you have to look at your. Okay, many are saying no issues. They are able to hear. Okay, I will continue. So for this, in order to ensure the structure and quality, we proposed model question paper. And this model question paper has to be prepared by every faculty member in your university in the beginning of the semester, or in fact, before the commencement of the semester. How it looks? Like this. Maximum they can have 3 bits, but we discourage third one, better A or B only, because as I said, more number of bits for each of the question, it takes more time. So here, teacher will write the question, model question paper, and write a question. He will allocate the marks, and he will write to which CO it is addressed, as CO1, CO2, CO3, like that. At what Bloom's taxonomy level, whether it is a L1 level question, L2 level question, L3 level, like that. Then which PI, like the PI code he will mention, 1.1.1, 1.4.1, like that, PI code will be mentioned. So student, so what is the difference between model question paper and actual question paper? In model question paper and actual question paper, this part will not change. What is there in the model question paper? Same marks, same CO, same Bloom's level, same PI code will remain. What will change is only the questions will change. In model question paper, there is one question that will be replaced by another question which addresses the same CO for the same marks for the same Bloom's taxonomy rule, addressing the same PI code. So if a student has practiced solving a problem at Bloom's taxonomy level 3 of CO1 for a particular 10 marks or whatever marks addressing certain PI code, only a question problem will change, but its complexity will remain the same. Therefore, you will not have any difficulty in solving it. That is what our experience says. If you don't give this model question, but then there will be so much of confusion, uncertainty for the student. What type of questions they will ask, whether it is a numerical question or whether a descriptive question. So now everything is clear, because in model question paper and actual question paper, this part will not change. These 4 columns will remain same. Only the question will change. The question will have same marks, addressing same CO, at the same taxonomy and same PI code. Okay. So this, after introducing the model question paper, our students were quite comfortable. And I will also assure you, your students will also be comfortable even if you ask at L3 level or L4 level. Because already he knows that for question number 1, I will get L3, question number 2, I will get L4. And accordingly, he will prepare. Okay. Now, you can also check for its quality. So in a small Excel sheet, every engineering faculty will be going. Just open a Excel sheet, mark question numbers 1 to 8 and L1, L2, L3, L4. Don't write L5, L6 because I am talking about written examination. In fixed hour examination, you will not ask question beyond L4, which is not correct. Okay. Again, I'm sure my colleague also has repeated these things. Then you say question number 1, how many marks for L1, how many marks for L2, that you type and add them and calculate the percentage. Now you know that in your question paper, L1, L2 questions are 42%, very close to 40%. So it's a good question paper. Suppose if it has become 70% and this has become 30%, then you have to, still the semester has not started. You are doing this with model question paper. You can change the questions, change the level of the question, and then make sure that this is very close to 40, this is 60. Again, I will say that if the input quality of students is poor to your college, take 1 or 2 semesters extra. Don't directly jump to, say earlier you are 70% L1, L2, 30% L3, L4. From 70, don't come to 40 directly in one go. So somewhere come to 60 or 55, then come to 50 and then 40. Okay. So take 1, 2 semesters extra and reach the 40. Because students will be referring to the old question paper. They think that 70% for descriptive answers, 30% for numerical problems. Now, suddenly, if you make 60% numerical problems and only 40% descriptive, they will be in trouble. So, take little more time if the input quality of students is poor, or if it is good, you can directly jump to 40, 60. This is how you can check, cross check. This is all with reference to model question paper I am telling. Okay. Then in order to ensure the alignment, that means I have written 4 COs or 6 COs. Am I asking questions to all the 6 COs in my question paper, model question paper? So again, I will, so in question number 1 related to CO1, 10 marks. Question number 1B related to CO2, 10 marks, like that. I will add in the type in Excel sheet. Then I will see. Then I will cross check whether the weight percent I have given is correct as per my course assessment plan. Because students feel cheated if you are given 35% for CO3 and if you ask only 20%, then you feel cheated. Okay, earlier in the CO course and plan 35% is there, so I given a lot of preparation time for CO3, but now they are asking only 20% marks. So you still it is a model question paper. If it is different, try to adjust it. So now you have questions. None of the column is blank. Okay. So you are addressing question for each of the COs. And here in the previous slide, for each of the L1, L2, L4 level, you ask question because none is blank. Okay. So by this, you can ensure that there is alignment and there is a quality. So something was asked. Let me see. What about extra questions? You see, there's nothing like extra questions. Extra questions or choice questions are related to any of the CO itself. There's nothing like you are given certain weightages. So 10% questions for CO1, 15% for CO2, like that. Everything together 100% mark. If this is matches with your course and plan, it is okay. Extra question in a sense, it will be choice questions. Okay. So either you can do 2 different sheets or you can have only one Excel sheet where you can put quality also you can test, or you can also test the COs alignment also. Okay. Here itself you can type the marks, see the percentages as well as whether there is a some number. Some number means that you are asking questions. So as a private question, university, if you are setting the question, you have full freedom, okay, to decide about the quality and alignment yourself, and you can decide what should be the percentage of marks for L3, L4, and what should be the percent of L1, L2. But ultimately, in a year or two, you have to reach that 40, 60. That is the idea. Then the Okay, some question is there. Let me clarify the doubts. We don't have the authority to set a question paper. Okay, if you are a affiliated college, then your freedom is limited to, this freedom is limited to only internal assessment test only, CI only. You exercise your freedom in CI only. So when the NBE accreditation happens, you say that you are affiliated college. So what did you wanted to show, the alignment and this quality that you are showing in continuous internal evaluation only. And NBE accepts that. Because when you don't have the freedom, the question of you doing that question setting doesn't appear. So only you prepare model internal assessment question paper, and there you ensure the alignment of quality as well as COs. Okay. So when it comes to L3, L4, automatically become apply and analyze questions. But don't miss out on L1, L2 questions, because in any institution there will be a spectrum of students, very poor quality students to very bright students. See, examination should not become a punishment. Okay, students should learn. That's what we are showing. Is like exploration. They should learn by doing. What we say is "kelte kelte learna." Okay, so it should not become some. It should not create a lot of anxiety in the students. So give some L1, L2 questions also, so that very poor quality students have an option as a opportunity to pass, clear subjects. At the same time, you try to increase the experiential learning component. Earlier, they were doing only final year projects. Now they are doing mini project, minor project, course project, take-home assignments. So there he is learning in a team. So therefore, it is possible you can ask L1, L2 questions also. It need not be only analyze and apply. Okay. See, the theoretical subjects, informity is not a compass. That's why the next two slides I want to make it very clear. Okay. See, in this subject, one person, here L2 level 20 marks, that understanding level 20, apply level 40, analyze level 40. Here every CO he has given 20% weightage. There is no hard and fast rule that the CO weightage should be same. See, in the another person, 19% for understanding, 81% for L3. But CO weightages are changing. There is no hard and fast rule that CO weightage should be same for same. They may vary depending on the importance. So ultimately, you are the expert of your subject. You have to decide. Okay, it is entirely up to you to decide, either individually or collectively with the discussion with the other your colleagues. You decide what should be the weightage for each of the CO. Okay, so if you don't know anything, then you start with some number and collect the feedback and improvise. I think something is asked. Sir, one question bothering: can we give out of 4 marks in theory subjects in humanity? So it is. I think it is very personal question. I don't want to generalize. It all depends upon the teachers. We have seen some teachers, even in IIT. Even I have kept the answer books with marks. In one, it is not a theoretical subject. It was a numerical applied computational methods. I got 32 out of 30 marks. 2 marks more than the maximum marks for the question paper. And some of my classmates raised the question, asked, it happened in IIT Delhi, sir, maximum marks of 30 and you are given theory 32 marks. Why? He said, he has done in such a beautiful way, it is much beyond my expectation. That's why for this performance, I have given 2 marks extra. In another test, if we give little more, these 2 marks will compensate that test. So it all depends upon the faculty members. Better you take the call. I don't want, because here I'm giving an extreme example, my personal. Even if somebody demands, I have at home the answer book where the teacher has given me 32 out of 30. Okay, 2 marks more than the maximum marks. He said he is extremely happy with the type of answer I have given. And it was discussed in the classroom at IIT Delhi, not anywhere, some small thing, and he defended it. So it all depends personal decision, discretionary powers. So I don't want to generalize it. So in order to bring everything into a process, because in our institute we believe that if something is going wrong, then that means we don't find the fault with the concerned teacher. We start looking at the process. If process is good, then individual mistake can be overcome. So we set this process. Even if you copy paste this process in your institute, then it will definitely help. So what we did, in order to ensure the structure and quality, all the faculty members started preparing course assessment plan. So write the COs and then give the weightage, assessment weightage, then test 1, test 2, quiz, assignment, course project, semester exam. That table they will prepare, and then with the after approval in the department discussion, that will be shared with the students during the first week of the semester commencement. Then they will also prepare the model question paper structure, model question paper they prepare. As I said, the marks, the CO mapping, then Bloom's level mapping, PI code mapping, they will remain the same as in the model question paper. Only the question will change during the test, internal assessment test, as a semester exam. But the structure remains the same. So there will not be any surprise for student. Student will be knowing 1A will be for 5 marks related to CO1 at Bloom's taxonomy L2 connected to 1.4.1. Till that he will be clear. Okay. After that, we also test quality and alignment matrix by actually putting the marks in the Excel sheet, whether it's very close to 40, 60 marks or there, or under every CO column there is a marks is typed or not. That means there is a question for every CO and there is a marks for every Bloom's taxonomy level. In this way, we ensure the quality and alignment matrix. What is the use of doing this? The practice will lead to consistency in question paper quality. Okay, so there is no question of saying this time the question paper was easy, last time it was very difficult. No, because every time we are setting the question related to same CO for the same marks at the same Bloom's taxonomy level, addressing the same PI code. So where is the question of tough question paper or weak question paper? Okay, so there will be consistency in question paper quality, and there will be alignment with the outcomes. So we are ensuring that every CO there is a question. Then there is the clarity of expectations. Students are now comfortable. As I repeatedly telling, he knows that at what Bloom's taxonomy level for which CO the question is appearing in the exam. He also knows that the question in the model question will change, but other things will remain the same. So that will give him a lot of comfort. Then this will also help act as a guideline for question paper setters. In most of the institutions in India, we use external question paper setter. The external question paper setter, when you give these, share with him the course and plan and model question paper and the quality and alignment matrix, then you will come to know how to set the question paper. And these will also help the question paper reviewers. Okay, in this way, this practice you can copy paste in your institution also. Each one of you prepare course and plan, prepare the model question paper and quality and alignment matrix. So now the assignment for today. Now I have explained you model question paper. So you have to prepare a model question paper today itself. And after this, Saurabh of AICTE will share with all of you the link for uploading your model question paper for a subject in which you are comfortable, which you are taught for many years, or you are teaching now, whichever is you have, and it should be as per your university format if you are affiliated college, and as per your university or institute format if you are autonomous. Ultimately, we want what are the question paper you set, it should be useful at least for you people. Okay. So if the quality of questions are good, then AICTE it will use those questions in their question banks. Okay. And make sure that number of L1, L2 level questions should not be greater than 40%. Ensure quality and alignment. So I have shared with you that quality and alignment Excel sheet. You have seen for each question, enter marks, CO address, whether CO1, CO2, Bloom's level, and PI code. Okay, PI code. See, you in the at the top of your model question paper, what you are going to submit, type name of the university or college, name of the program, whether civil engineering, mechanical engineering, name of the course, whether thermodynamics, signals and systems, machine design one, whatever subject it is, name of the faculty, your own name, and for which semester you are setting that question paper. Then write the CO outcomes. If you don't write, then if you write CO1, then the other people who are looking at your question paper will be not able to connect. Okay, there's a question they're written CO1 or CO2, but where is the CO? So write COs also. Okay, and now when you prepare the model question paper, this is for fixed hour exam. There should be, when you type a question here, allocate marks 5 or 10, then there should be only one number, unique number, CO1 or CO2. Don't write CO1 comma CO2. If you want to make, then you make CO1 question number 1A for CO1, question number 1B for CO2. Another guideline, don't write L1, L2 here only. If you want L1 question number 1A, L1, question number 1B, L2. Or if it is L2, L3, question number 1A, L2, question number 1B, L3. Only one CO value should be typed here. Only one Bloom's taxonomy level should be typed here. Okay. This guideline is for fixed hour exam or internal assessment test or semester examination. And when it's to PI, again, some people are asking PI code. I knew, again, therefore, there is a subsequent slide. Again, I will repeat that, PI code. Apart from that, if you can share some of the questions already, if you are prepared for lab open-ended experiment, very good quality home assignment where the Bloom's taxonomy level is L4 or L5. And if you have in your institution, if you have practice of course projects and mini and minor project, I'm telling you, if you have the practice already, okay, now only immediately today, tonight you cannot prepare. If you already have the practice, if there are good questions, then share with it AICTE. Some samples I will show you. Okay. So this one is mandatory. Everybody has to submit. Okay. Today only or before tomorrow, 9 a.m. you submit. As said, Saurabh of AICTE will share the link with you. Whereas this one, if you already have the practice of offering open-ended experiments or home assignments or core mini project, then only you share the questions with AICTE. Now, for them who are not, so either you submit today or your time up to 9 a.m. tomorrow to share your question paper. Okay. The link will be submitted by AICTE to with you. They have all your email IDs. You will receive them. Okay. People who are not aware about what is meant by a lab open-ended experiment, just briefly I will explain because it's all time consuming. There was one published paper by Hazel and Bailey. They are from England. So they said, if aim is given, apparatus is given, procedure is given, they call procedure as method in their paper. Apparatus they call material, procedure they call method, and answer or result they call answer. Okay. If all are given, then it is called demonstration type of experiment. And in India, most of our experiments are like that. We give aim, apparatus, procedure, and many times if you look at the previous journal, answer will also be known. So all are this. They said when students are asked repeatedly only this type of experiments, they hardly create excitement in the laboratory. Whether they do it or not, they doesn't add any value to that experience. Then they said you gradually move to the higher levels. Then they said go to the second level exercise, where AM apparatus method is given, but answer will vary from batch to batch. From my own lab, I am IC engines. I will tell you, if there is a, if your students are conducting either in a petrol and diesel engine, whichever it may be, one batch you give to conduct, ask them to conduct experiment at 20% load, another 40%, another 60, 80 full load. Then even though the AM apparatus procedure is same, because the load is changing, results will vary. The power developed will vary, efficiency will vary, emissions will vary. Okay, that is how then you ask all the batches to share with each other the results. Now ask them to comment why for their load either power is more or less, efficiency is more or less, emission is more or less. In that way, their ability to analyze will also improve. That is second layer, exercise type of question. Next is structured inquiry. Here aim and apparatus will same or slightly apparatus may slight modification will be there, whereas the procedure and answer will vary. Okay, so for this again the same, you can same diesel engine procedure will remain same, but you will ask one batch to conduct experiment with injection pressure of 190 bar diesel injection pressure, second at 210 bar, 230 bar, 260 bar, like that. If it is a petrol engine, injection timing will vary. Then ask them what is its effect. So it's called structured inquiry. So and again the each batch will share, and when it is advanced what will happen, when injection retarded what will happen. So their ability to interpret the results will improve. Then next level is open-ended experiment, where when aim is given, but everything will vary from batch to batch. You can only say that in the laboratory I have a certain engine, the present NOx emission is this much. I want you to reduce that by certain percentage. So now you are not telling how to do it. Then students themselves have to think how to reduce the NOx emissions, either by exhaust gas recirculation or making it very lean mixture, whatever it is, a rich mixture. They have to think and do, or changing the injection timing. They have to think and do it. That is called open experiment. They are a bit challenging. So that will make the students, that will engage the students in the laboratory more, make them to do some research, collect some information, make some changes, and then show the results. During this process, the learning will be much, much better. And fourth level is for PhD holders and scientists. So you need not have to worry about it. So a PhD person who is doing PhD or scientist, he himself will decide what is the problem statement. He will himself set up the experiment setup. He will decide the procedure himself and come out with the results. So this is about open-ended experiment. Here, so if you are able to take the student up to this level, then definitely the student learning in the laboratory will be better. If you are not done so far, make an attempt. If you are only doing demonstration, go to next exercise, then go to structured, and in 1 or 2 semesters reach this level of open-ended experiments. Then again somebody asked what is PI code. Then again I'm repeating from page number 19. All the POs are given for each of the POs. Competencies are given for each of the competency. PI code are given. So look at it, which PI code is appropriate for that question. That PI code you have to write. Okay. Suppose if I ask a question on electrical engineering, which uses knowledge of concepts of mechanical engineering to solve. In that case, PI code will be 1.4.1. Even if you use the application of electrical engineering concept, then also it is 1.4.1, like that. But whereas CSE students will refer, so in the model question paper, you have to mention the PI code. So UG CSE students will refer to 29 to 33 page numbers. Okay. Again, I say for MBA at national level, there are no competency and PIs. your own institution, you have to put in efforts and write them and use them. So you have to write and use. That is the more challenging. Now I am sharing some of the statement for lab, open and experiment, mini project, minor project, like that. When I said more written examination, I said there should be only one CO, there should be only one Bloom's taxonomy level, and only one PI code, not more than one. But here I am writing more than one PI code, because here I am going to assess the students using rubrics. If you have the idea of rubrics, and you can see in the document you have downloaded, in rubrics there will be a lot of rows. Each row will have one performance parameter. And so you can assign one performance parameter for this. Problem analysis will be performance parameter for this 2.1.2. And design will be a performance parameter 3.4.1. Investigation will be for 4.2.2. Modern tool usage will be 5.2.2. Then parameter related to teamwork will be 9.2.1. Parameter related to communication will be 10.1.2. Parameter related to lifelong learning will be 12.3.1. And parameter related to PSO will be 14. So there will be so many rows. Therefore, you can write many. But if there is only one row in assessment, then there will be only one PI. So when it comes to model question paper for written examination, only one value of marks, one value of CO, one value of Bloom's taxonomy level, only one value of PI. But when it rubrics based, you can have more number, because we have different rows for different performance parameters. Here you can see design and simulate. So for simulation using some software which is not covered. No, the network problem may be for you. Okay. Assignment link will be not be shared by me, it will be shared by AICT. Maybe before 3:30 you will get the link. Okay. Today only.
Only
Next.
participants who have attended yesterday's workshop and today's workshop, 90%, will only be getting the certificate or mail to
Link.
submit the question paper.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Saurabh, for that announcement. Then if it is a home assignment question, then you can take to the higher order level, L4. Okay. Now you see how a home assignment problem can be given in digital signal processing. See, if you are MBA, if you don't have PI, leave it. Then you can mention that. We can understand. The model question paper is prepared for MBA subject for which we don't have the PIs. Therefore, I have kept blank. Okay. We understand that. So here it is design, simulate, and implement a suitable digital filter for a real-time QRS detection based on spatio-temporal characteristic of the QRS complex, and analyze the detection performance for various input parameters. You can cross-check the people who are aware about digital signal processing whether this question related to this CO or not. Okay. Then it addresses problem analysis, modern tool usage, because the simulation is doing, and that simulation tool is not taught by the teacher, so students have to learn themselves. Therefore, there is also 12.3 lifelong learning, and they are communicating through presentation, therefore 10.1.2. So you can also move for higher Bloom's taxonomy level questions you can ask and train your students during the semester. That's what I meant by don't innovate in assessment without innovating in pedagogy. First, introduce these innovations in pedagogy, then only bring out innovations in your assessment. Then if you are teaching a subject, like software engineering, I said, the teacher was asking, conducting only entrance assessment test 1, then 30 marks for course project. What type of question problem statement you can use? Design, develop an autonomous functionality of a navigating bot for steering through the given arena. So many times you can also select questions from the Smart India Hackathon. Many ministries are giving questions. So even though they may be belonging to previous years, select questions if they are related to your subject and give to your students. and that will be very good questions. They are real world problems, and students will learn a lot in solving them. Even if they don't solve complete also, the learning will be much better. So people who are aware about automotive electronics, they can check whether this need statement refers to CO4 or not. Then mini project need statement. In our university, whether it is a theory course, lab course, mini project, minor project, final project, for all that courses, they have to write course outcomes. Using action work, they have to write. Okay. For 5th semester, we have mini project. 6th semester, there is a minor project. And 7th semester, student will use senior design project. Okay, let me check. Somebody is asking question. How many questions should be there in question paper? As per your question paper pattern. And better you set for semester exam, not for internal, not for CIEQP. It should be for semester examination and examination. Okay. As per university question paper pattern, or if you are autonomous, you should be for your own institute, but only for semester exam. See, these are the how course outcomes are written for mini projects. And definitely we can achieve higher order thinking skills here. See, L5 level, Bloom's taxonomy level. And how many POs can be addressed? That is the beauty. The PO2 is addressed to, the bold letter refers to PO number. Okay, PO2 is addressed, PO3 is addressed, PO4, PO5, PO8, PO9, PO10, PO11, 12, 13. 13 is program specific outcome of our ENC department. So don't get confused what is 13. But here, since it is a minor mini project, there are 6 COs. All 6 COs have to be addressed in doing this project itself. Therefore, there are all the COs are written. But in fixed hour exam, there is only one CO value. And when you're writing Bloom's level, even though it may be using L3, L4, L5, only highest level is written. Because when you write L5, it assumes that all previous levels are included in it. Okay. So when you write Bloom's taxonomy level, only we write the highest. We don't write L1 and L2 and L3 and L4 and L5. No. L5 will take care of all the previous levels. But only thing, when you write more than one PI, then you should have an appropriate performance indicator. And you should also have the intelligence to put some PIs in the first phase review, few PIs in the second phase review, and few PIs only in the final review. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to assess the student for all the PIs in one presentation. Okay. So first review some PIs, second review some PIs, and final review remaining PIs. Minor project, it will be for 6 credits, little more depth in the project and expectations. This is how the problem statement is prepared by ENC department in our college. So since they are asking develop technical writing skills, presentation skill, working in a team. So working in a team means again PO9 is addressed, presentation skill, writing skill, PO10 is addressed. This is how different POs can be addressed. So here they have taken it to L6 level. Because it is a project, you can go to L6 level. But in fixed hour exam, you cannot go beyond L4. Again, 2 for, yeah, is the CO independent of L6? Here, all 3 COs are addressed in doing this project. The highest level is L6. So even though L1, L2 may be of different levels, but ultimately when you do a physical model, that is at L6 level, you are creating something. Okay. So it is L6 level. That L6 level includes, assumes that all the lower levels are taken care. Okay. So therefore, we don't write CO1 at L3 level or CO2 at L4 level like that. If you want to bring in that specificity, you can bring in. But easier way is ultimately it is the creating a some project which creation means L6 level, and write simply L6. But in fixed hour exam, again repeatedly telling, one row, only one CO value, only one Bloom's taxonomy level. and only one PI code. These are all for those type of assessments where rubrics are used. When rubrics are used, that conditions do not apply. When you are using simply going through the answer and allocating the marks, then every question bit will have only one value of marks, only one value of CO, one value of Bloom's taxonomy level, and only one PI code. Some samples, with this I will end. These are all from exam from policy document only. And before this, starting those examples, once again I want to emphasize on two-step process. In the absence of two-step process, there is a core single variable calculus. All the COs are related to CO. And before this two-step process, we are connecting CO with PO. And whichever questions the student answer, we used to say PO1 is attained. But now it is not like that. PO1, the question related to calculus only, PI 1.1.2. Second question, that is also related to calculus, again for same PI. CO3 question is also related to same PI. CO4 is related to same PI because the course itself is single variable calculus. Even if students do get 100 out of 100 also, only one PI is attained or addressed. So remaining PIs are not addressed. You need another course for this, another course for this. Like this, when all PIs are attained, all these competencies are addressed, then only this PO is addressed completely. That is what I wanted to repeat for the two-step, how important two-step process is. Then only you come to know gap in your curriculum and delivery and assessment. Okay, I am not asking questions related to this. I am not asking questions related to it. Even though I am teaching mathematics, but I am not asking. Now in the next cycle, you can bring about changes. Okay, now examples I am sharing. Mechanics of even rubrics are samples are given in the exam reform policy document. For mini project and final project, all are there for internal review, mid review, and final review. So here, mechanics of materials, analyze the state of internal effects. So what you have to see is, if you are familiar with this subject, see whether this question related to this CO or not. And looking at this, you can say safely it is L3 level. You can see since it is a part of fixed hour exam, only one value of mark, one value of CO, one value of BL, Bloom's taxonomy level, one value of performance indicator. Why 1.3.1? Because it use applying fundamental engineering concept to solve engineering problems. Therefore, it is 1.3.1. Another question from FEM, analysis already there at L4 level. Why it is 2.2.3? Because it is all from page 15 to 19. Identify existing processes by solution methods for solving the problem, including forming justified approximations, assumptions. Next one, like this. Why it is 2. Other things will follow. Why it is 2.1.3? Because use identify the mathematical, engineering, and other relevant knowledge that applies to a given problem. Advanced geotechnical engineering, it is 1.3.1 because this reason already mentioned. Why it is 2.1.2? This question, because identify engineering systems, variables, and parameters to solve the problems. You can see when you fixed your exam, mostly you are addressing PO1, PI related to PO1 or PO2. Somewhere PO3 will come. If you want to address professional outcomes, you have to go for open lab experiments, take home assignments, mini project, minor project, or final projects. Otherwise, very difficult to satisfy the professional skills, which are usually assessed through rubrics. Construction project management, very big problem, 20 marks. It is at L4 level, some analysis required. It is 2.2.3 because it uses identifying existing process solution methods for solving the problem, including forming justified approximations. Analyze and determine, L3 level question, easily you can understand. 1.4.1 because it uses electrical engineering concept to solve. Again, same question, electrical engineering concepts. 2.1.2 for linear integrated circuits because it uses identifying engineering systems, variables, and parameters to solve the problems. same. 3.4.1, because refine a conceptual design into a detailed design within the existing constraints of the resources. These all questions are available in the policy document which you are downloaded. If you are not a download, download it. Only selected things I have taken from that policy document and try to make it easy for you to understand. What is 2.12? Because this is the definition of 2.1.2. Digital circuits, another important subjects about flip-flops, CO, and these also flip-flops. So even if you simply AICT exam from policy document in Google, you will get it. Or go to AICT website, then also Google search, you will get it. Easy, you can get easily. So I think you are coming to the end. Review questions, quickly answer. With this, we'll wind up. Structure refers to alignment or Bloom's level. Okay, first correct answer has come. Structure refers to alignment, quality refers to Bloom's level. L1, L2, 40, not greater than 40%. Okay, correct. Quality and alignment matrix include both BL and CO distribution. Correct. In course assessment plan, we align CO with assessment methods. So this one I want you to answer. On which page numbers we find performance indicator code? Because even after completing everything, then still the students will have the doubt. Where we get PI code, where we get PI, 15 to 19. Thank you, Rajesh Kumar. This is Dr. Mohammed has answered the correct answer. Dr. Basuraj, fine. So these are the answers. You can cross-verify. Most of the written correct answers. Only I would like to end this presentation with G. Miller. I started yesterday with the first quote by G. Miller, that is assessment drives student learning. He has given one more quote. Changing the exam system without changing the curriculum had a much more profound impact upon the nature of learning than changing the curriculum without altering the exam system. All these years we are dynamically changing the curriculum, but we are not changing the examination pattern. So according to him, if you change the curriculum without altering the exam system, then the impact will be very, very less. But if you change the exam system without changing the curriculum, then it will be profound impact. But luckily, AICT is doing both. Earlier, it changed the curriculum, model curriculum it released. Then also it released this exam reform policy document. Since you are doing both, in the next few years, the quality of technical education in India will be much, much better. We can give very tough fight to all the nations in the world. We can do it, provided everybody understand OB correctly and implement it in good spirit. In spite of attending this, somebody will have initial doubt. I won't do it, I can't do it. Then looking at some of your colleagues doing, you may say, I want to do it. Once you decide, you may ask, how do I do it? Then with the help of your colleagues, you will try to do it. Finally, I want to see, yes, I did it. Okay. Hope to see you all here shortly. Okay, it's good. Many of you are saying, I will do it. And tomorrow, let us say that, yes, I did. When you share your model question paper, we'll have discussion on that. And then it is a learning from everybody. Okay, everybody has to participate. It does not mean one person sharing, other will sit quiet. No, because we both, myself and coordinator, we are from mechanical background. If somebody is presenting a question paper from E&C or electrical or computer science, then among the participants who are from those respective branches, you have to comment. Because your comments will, at the most, you may say that the Bloom's taxonomy level may look correct or wrong. PI could be only one or two. But whether it's correct or not, you people have to tell. And during this discussion, we learn. And if you are new to this question setting, then also you share. At that time, you'll get the benefit of so many participants commenting on your question paper. A good learning opportunity. And if you are already a senior, experienced paper setter, then share your good quality question paper, then everybody will appreciate, they will also learn from it. Okay? So it is either sharing your expertise or learning from others. In any way, whether you are new or experienced, better share it. Together we learn and make it better. Okay, with this, I conclude my presentation. And if you have any questions, you can ask. And as I said, Saurabh will share the link, and he has his own criteria that 90% attendance he wants. And any questions you can ask. Otherwise, a few thank you messages will give a signal to wind up. So thank you are coming. Link will be on email. Okay, thank you for your appreciation. That also motivates us, gives us energy to do our job much better. Thank you then. So tomorrow we'll meet at 10:30. Okay. Thank you. Let us leave the event.